Maybe you've heard the news, maybe you haven't. The MLB is expanding, probably by the end of the decade, at least on paper. And the divisions are being redrawn. Let's talk about expansion first, because that also ties into geographic realignment. So where are we expanding to? People are saying two in the western U.S., two, or not two and two. One in the western U.S., one in eastern U.S. Eastern U.S. candidates' top billing is Charlotte and Nashville. I'm going to say with my whole ass out on the line, it's Nashville. It's the Nashville Stars. They have the funding. They have the sports culture in Nashville. I think it's heavily the favorite. I wouldn't be upset or anything if Charlotte got the team and they took their AAA stadium that's in downtown and were able to improve it to be a MLB caliber stadium. I think that would be really cool. When we go out west, it's a little bit more confusing because maybe it's Portland that puts a team up by the Mariners so they could travel somewhere that isn't super far away. But Portland's like honestly a shrinking city in a state that's also Eugene's all right. Portland is a shrinking city. Not necessarily like a bad city or anything. It's just not growing. A growing city in the western U.S. would be like Salt Lake. And Utah's been very aggressive in acquiring sports teams lately. So I could very much see the MLB putting a team in Utah. Outside of that, maybe the Rays stay in Tampa. Maybe. There's a chance they go to Orlando. And there was at once talks of the Rays moving to Montreal. I don't see Montreal happening for the Rays. I think Orlando is honestly 60-40. They stay in Tampa, 40% they go to Orlando is my mind right now on that. Anyways, geographic realignment. So what's going to happen? A lot of people are saying that National American League will probably go away. I see that as a strong possibility if MLB is looking to do the most optimal amount of travel lessening. Because, like, look at the Blue Jays. They have to go to Tampa how many times a season? That is... That's insane. The Mariners going anywhere. What are we doing? You know, those teams are far away from their division rivals, which for the Mariners is just because they have no one close to them, no matter who's in their division. So I can understand the argument for getting rid of American League and National League. I'm sure you could keep those two distinctions. That way we're not just going, oh, the Eastern Conference, Western Conference. That is something I hate about the NBA. I want to keep the National American Leagues and the MLB. That way we can, maintain some of the current divisional rivalries we have. Like, I'm a Cubs fan. I still want to be in the same division as the Cardinals. And I would like to be in the same division as the Brewers, too. I want to hate them. But at the same time, I understand why Rob Manfred or the MLB would want to get rid of the two separate leagues and maybe make new conferences, create new lines. That way, we either have 4 divisions of 8 or 8 divisions of 4 that are based on the geography, the travel time. Because of things like Toronto and Tampa being in the same division. Because, I mean, geographically there are places close to them, well, closer than Tampa, that could be division rivals. I think there's some even in their league, which is funny. I think realignment is something that should happen, but I don't want to see American National Leagues eroded. The cases where it would be the most useful are in those 2-team cities, more so for New York and Chicago. LA, it's not as much of a thing because LA has the Dodgers, but the Angels are Anaheims. That's from the outside looking in. I'm not from that area. It's just I grew up with the Anaheim Angels. The situation with the Yankees and the Mets is way, way, way different than Cubs and Sox. I am a Cubs fan. I am not from the North Side, but I am a Cubs fan. Now, what I do know is Wright Field does not sell out like Wrigley does every day. So something that would be very beneficial to the MLB and the White Sox as an organization would be for the Cubs and the White Sox to be in the same division, so the Crosstown Classic happens more often. Like, it's something that happens every year, twice, but, you know, if we had a few more of them in there, I think it might... when I first heard about it and I first saw the mock-ups of different renditions of a new geographically realigned MLB, I was a little annoyed by it because I was like, what if it loses luster? It's not as special. I think it'll be just as special. And, you know, I think it would bring more traffic to Wright Field, which it needs, because there's people that I don't think should be giving opinions, frankly, if this is opinion that you hold, that the White Sox should be moved. I fully disagree with that. I don't want them to move. I think it's too important to the region they're in that they are there. You know, this is like a San Diego Chargers situation. You know what I mean? The Crosstown Classic for Chicago is something extremely special, as I'm sure that the Subway Series, it's the Subway Series, right? For Mets Yankees. It's something important culturally to that city and those fans. So the idea that the White Sox could possibly move is like, what are we even talking about? I don't want that notion brought up. I don't want to pay for their new stadium if they're going to go to the 78. Maybe they should talk to the owner of the Fire to make a joint sports complex, if anything. But they haven't paid off Wright Field. Maybe more crosstowns would help with that, but it's just... I don't want to see the White Sox leave. It's too important. Other than things like that, like having the National American League, which honestly the separation of those two is like, it wasn't even that long ago that you couldn't have a DH in the National League. It's the differences between the two leagues has been like completely eroded at this point. So it's just kind of like a, you know, in the NFL, the AFC, NFC, it's just conferences at this point, but we call them leagues. And it's just part of the tradition at this point. It's not something I want to see go away. But yeah, looking forward to seeing Nashville, and I'm assuming Salt Lake City, join in the MLB. You know, I love baseball, and I like seeing the sport grow as much as it has this year, which has been crazy. Hopefully everything works out. Hopefully salary caps don't come into effect. And by the way, a little side note on that, expansion is another reason why we don't need a salary cap. If the owners implement a salary cap and then choose to expand, that's just showing how greedy the owners are, because to join the league, you have to pay an expansion fee, which would be like $2 billion. That $2 billion per team, mind you, per team. So $4 billion being distributed amongst the 30 current owners. That is money that could be used to pay for a new stadium. That could be used to renovate a stadium. It could be used to add talent, keep talent, things like that. Boost the farm system. These are all things they can do with that expansion fee cash out that they would receive. But if they put a salary cap, if you have a middling team and the owner says, yes, let's implement a salary cap, and then they vote to expand the MLB, they basically voted to screw your team over so that they could have more money, and they're just milking you dry, just so you know. That's why you should not be in favor of a salary cap in MLB. Salary floor, I'm fine with. Salary cap is ludicrous if we're talking about expanding the league. Just keep that in mind. Anyways, see you guys.